All right, let's get started. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah? All right, great. Okay, so I am so excited about doing this workshop today. Just a little background about about me. My name is Lindsay Anastasio. I have a very extensive accounting finance background on Wall Street, very structured, very quick, very tech savvy. So I worked with really amazing boutique kind of companies. And then I got really burnt out, like most of us, and moved out to California. And so I'm here I'm collaborating with other like-minded individuals as well, and really putting something amazing together, the shortcomings of the finance world. And I've been in the finance world, I would say pretty much almost 15 years now. So I'm just taking the best of the best. And the purpose of this workshop is the power of Excel. And as I promoted this workshop, I've also worked with developers that are trying to outdate Excel because of redundancy and issues that they've had, and they just can't. So I've been flown to trainings all over the world and seeing how we can outdate Excel, and I still find myself always back to Excel, even working with sophisticated accounting systems. So what I'm going to show you today is, even if you work with the most high-tech savvy kind of accounting finance system, this is a way for you to just kind of move back and forth easy without having to like learn a new system, or let's say you've never touched a system before, then this is even better. So it comes from all different angles. Wherever your background is, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to show you what I have put together from many, many years of working with really, really high tech savvy, companies, to just mom and pop kind of shops, and kind of what makes sense in the middle way. And also, like I put in my background with the integrative accounting, is just kind of getting out of our own way and putting something really magical together and getting back to the power of numbers. And I'm obsessed with Pythagoras and science, and especially quantum physics. So I really bring that piece into when I look at numbers, and not just kind of some obligation and mundane activity that we have to do to track. What magic can we make with it, with no guilt or shame, and just have freaking fun and create something beautiful? So that's kind of my shtick on finance. And when I entered the finance world, I was in love with it. And then after many, many years with it, I just got so burnt out of all things that didn't make sense and our shortcomings. So here I am doing my dream job right now. And I just wanted to put out too, I'd like you guys to have, don't try to memorize this. Excuse me. Don't try to memorize this. You will be receiving an Excel goodie bag. You'll be receiving everything. Can you just put yourself on mute, whoever joins us? Thank you. You'll receive the template I'm going to show you, as well as, so you'll see kind of everything I'm going to show you today. You're going to receive that as a template, so you can play around with it, have fun, and not start from scratch. You're also going to receive an Excel cheat sheet. It's my favorite. So it's screenshots of everything that I'm doing today. So you can kind of just like go back and look at it with a screenshot, so you don't have to it kind of walks you through. I've done a lot of training for companies and stuff, so I know like how to kind of, I hate the word dummy it down, but yes, to dummy it down so everyone can understand it. With Excel, I think that how I learned to become so proficient with it is to not memorize it, and just kind of like have a gaze with it and understand its capabilities. And I'm going to give you so much today, but also learn how to Google. So a lot of the formulas that I've learned, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Excel can do that. But instead of memorizing it, I was like, just knowing that I know it can do that, then I Google. And then a lot of times if I find a good article, I'll just clip the article and put it. I love Evernote to save all my kind of goodies and then just save it there. But yeah, to memorize, I mean, Excel does so much. It looks so simple, but you really can build such huge programs and functions in there. So it's pretty awesome. But yeah, so I just want to kind of reiterate, don't try to memorize this. You're going to be receiving a lot. So really just to understand it. And we'll have time at the end for questions that you might have. Okay, so, and you'll be receiving a recording of this as well. So you can always go back and kind of see. Yes, so amazing. I sent you guys an email. I know there was some confusion, especially with my wealth friends, that you had to email me first. So no worries if you just received an email from me right now, right before this workshop. I did put something together and I'm going to look at this from two different lenses and they actually kind of mirror each other. So I'm looking at it from one lens that you have no accounting system or no financial tracking system. So we're just going to talk from ground up, like how to make something easy, simple, but it can get as sophisticated as you'd like it to be. And I'm going to give you a nice template to work with it. But on the flip side, let's say you're like, you know, I'm running a business, I'm using QuickBooks or whatever kind of system you're using, but you want to get a little deeper with it. This is applicable as well. Again, there's so many lenses to use this. So I'm just going to show you those like the two scenarios though. If you have an accounting system and let's say you're just not using it fully or you don't know the financial reporting, this is going to be a quick way for you to kind of like dip in and dip out. So also if you want to start a business and you want to keep it really simple, you know, especially in the beginning, this is a great way. And this is when I consult, I'm always, when I talk to the CEO or, you know, the management, I'm like, please understand this. Don't hire a bookkeeper or, you know, a high level accountant if you're starting a business to help you with your books, because you have to have some kind of knowledge and understanding. Because I helped a gentleman, an old colleague who's not on the call, but so I could tell the story. But yeah, I helped him with data from 3 years, right? So for 3 years, he's been letting his bookkeeper kind of do all the stuff for him. And, you know, I came at the very end of it and, you know, he was getting angry and mad, and which I totally understand. But I'm just so, I just want to empower any kind of business owner wherever you are, or even your personal expenses, but just have an understanding of what, especially for business owners, though, especially like understand kind of the high level process so you can ask the right questions to your bookkeeper or your accountant. So that, yeah, and the power of Excel. So again, today what I'm going to show you, this is good for ad hoc reports, which is just kind of like you need a report like in your own kind of lens or someone's asking for something. The way I'm going to show you, they're called pivot tables and they pivot. So you can kind of look at things from so many different lenses. So if you need a what if scenario, you're like, well, what if I changed my price to this versus that? Or you want to see different prices. So just getting the basic of this opens many doors for you, because now you can start, as long as you have data, you can start playing around with it and manipulating it and looking at it from many different lenses. Whoever joined us, if you could put yourself on mute, I appreciate it. So yeah, we're gonna, this is, if you understand kind of the foundation of this and just how we're looking at it from this lens, you can use it in so many different ways as well. So Excel is so powerful in this way. Again, it's quick and dirty and very empowering. You could also use this for standard financial reporting. You know, if the bank needs something or you have investors and board reports, and let's say you do want to get a board eventually. So if you're starting a business, so learning this, again, don't think it's just for financial tracking. What I'm going to show you is going to be good. Whoever joined us, if you could put yourself on mute, thank you. Yes. So this is going to be good as, you know, you start moving if you're about to start a business as well or grow a business. Okay. So we're going to start now. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay. You guys can hear me? Everything good? Yeah. Okay. So this I'm going to start with if you don't have an accounting system or you're not really using it. I'm just going to work with raw data right now. So the scenario being you're going to pull from all, like I put in the email for those of you who had a chance to read it. You have, let's say right now you're just using a few accounts. You have like a bank account, a primary bank account that most of your traffic goes through. You have a business credit card, but it's pretty simple, right? The volume's not too crazy. So what this is, this kind of mirrors something that you would get from an accounting system as well. And it's just going to be what you get from the bank. So like I asked in the email, if you could start looking at your bank or your credit card statements, if you start looking at CSV files, and like I said in the email, CSV, comma separated values, they're just not formatted. So they're just simple raw data versus an Excel file. You might have the bank name on it and they have a little more graphics in it. So CSV is just going to be pure raw data. And that's going to be what we want. I look at it as very flat versus any kind of graphics or anything. It's just easier to manipulate. And I'd say 99% of the time, every big kind of bank or credit card is going to have a CSV file. It's pretty standard, especially if you're familiar with importing kind of data into an accounting system, you would need something very like similar like that. So yes, CSV again, and that's in my email. And then when you have this, you're going to receive a template like this. I'm using my hand like you guys can see me. Okay, so you're gonna use a template like this where this is what I'm gonna send over to you. And the white areas, I have the bank where you're gonna copy and paste. So all the white areas are where you're gonna copy and paste from the bank. So for instance, you're gonna have the bank date, then you're gonna have the description, right? And then the amount. Now for the amounts, something to note here, something that I like to do is when it's a withdrawal, I multiply it by -1, and it's in your cheat sheet. Because if it's all going the same way, then it's just hard to it just kind of nets, it looks cleaner when you run the pivot instead of having them all go the same direction. So I just want to make sure that the withdrawals have a negative sign. So and I believe this is in your cheat sheet, but let's say, these are the amounts that come out of the bank and the withdrawals look like this. If you just take a -1 and you copy it, and then if you do a paste special, you're going to have the option to multiply. So that's a quick way just to make it go the opposite sign. And oh yeah, the reason why I'm taking so slow too, I want to make a note that I'm working on a Mac. I've been with the Mac in the window world for many years, and I would say hands down, Windows is much better with Excel. Obviously, through the years, I used to partition my hard drive on my Mac so I could use Windows just to use Excel. Windows is just, Mac is good creatively, and then Windows is definitely the master when it comes to information and data. So with that said, if there might be little discrepancies, overall it's the same, but the experience. So I was gonna say, if you're using a Mac and you're using it for your creative website and all your business or whatever you're doing with it, but you have this old, like beat up, kind of boring looking Windows laptop, just break it out and use it for your finance, because maybe it works perfectly, it just looks ugly. But yeah, so just want to I am using a Mac right now. Okay, So back to this. So again, we're just copying, pasting, and you should be familiar with just the date, the description, and the amount. And then anytime I ever do anything like this, I put a formula in which you'll be receiving, and it's my MMYYYY formula. So it always changes the date in just the month of the year. So it's an easy way to just consolidate all the monthly activity. I don't want to see every line by line when I want to consolidate it. So I always put the month and the year here, and you'll see the actual formula here for you to use and play. Then I have a column. I haven't filled it out here, but I left it for you. This is important, especially if you're using many different accounts. Start to list the accounts. So for instance, if you have a Bank of America account, you would write BOA checking. And let's say the next one, and then you'll have all the BOA checking, right? So you're like, this is my copy and paste my Bank America checking. And then let's say the next one is your Capital One credit card, right? So then this copy and paste is all from that. You want to just make sure you know where the source is coming from. So if you're doing this manually and you're just going to download all the statements at a certain period of time, then you just want to make sure you remember where the source is coming from. It's going to help you immensely if you find an expense or something that comes through that you're like, what is this? And so now you don't have to go back and see which copy and paste it came from, which download it came from. So that's going to really help you when you start manipulating and going through things. The next type, all the yellow is the fill-ins that I've put in for you. So the next I always put, if it's a withdrawal, so here, if I filter, I don't think I have any income in here, but so if you filter on it, you could see the drop down. Yeah, I only have withdrawals. So if you filter, you can kind of see everything that I have labeled in here. So again, like what we just did. So if I look at the filter, now it's showing the Bank of America and Capital One. So in here, I can just pull up the Capital One, and now it just filters on that if I want to see it in this sheet. So we would then move on to, I always put withdrawal deposit, just mirrors kind of the bank. And I like it too for the credit card, if I want to see something coming in, if I'm a payment. And then, so this is where you build your hierarchy. In the accounting world, we call it the chart of accounts. It's the accountant's Bible. That's where these come. And these are where you build your hierarchies. I'm gonna provide you with examples, how I built mine. You can kind of see, you want it, the hierarchies, how I put them together. So we'll go over that as well. But here I have, again, you can see kind of what the options are by just looking at the filter. And I have a business checking, a business expense, operating expense, other expenses, and utilities. So operating expenses, for me, this is how I put this together in 2016, where most of mine were operating expenses. I wasn't really running my own business at the time. I was just starting. And then type 2 for me was the actual what it was and how I wanted to see it. And you want to kind of I would say be gentle with this stage and kind of see what categories make sense. You don't want to over categorize it. But for me, Starbucks is definitely a category I have to use on its own because I just go to Starbucks a lot. I have a lot of meetings there. It's just, so I don't want to see it as a tea house or restaurant. For some reason, I just like to see Starbucks separated. But, I have bank fees, beauty, business checking, just utilities, groceries, gym fees. So you can see kind of basic ones. I like to customize it because sometimes the basic ones don't work with me, but you could use basics ones too that you see in financial tracking systems. But because you're going to spend time in Excel, I think it's more fun to build your own. This is your own accounting system. So have fun with it and get creative and be like, how would I love to see, to see my expenses or my incomes that would make sense. So start somewhere and see how it kind of rolls out for you. And you can always tweak it as you go forward. But you want to keep it simple too. You don't want a category for every single thing. So how to like logically put it together. And then we talked about the amounts. Yeah, and that's about it. So those are the hierarchies that I've put together. I try to keep it as simple as possible. And then we're gonna move on to a pivot table. So this is where it really gets fun and exciting. So I actually have an example for you in here as well. So you're gonna get this where you can play around, and on the cheat sheet, it will give you step-by-step how to do this, but I'll give you an example as well. With a pivot table, you're gonna wanna make sure that you have a header, otherwise it's not going to work. So if, let's say the description, this was gone, it wouldn't be able to create the pivot table for you because it needs a header to consolidate it. So you have to make sure there's a header. Now what I'm giving you, the template, if you want to build your own, just look at my template and then you can start building your own and playing around. So you'll see I have a header for everything. Also, another thing I love to do is, you'll see when I send this over, this sheet is called master sheet. I always build a master sheet when I do this. Master sheet is where I put all the data in. So I don't touch it. You never touch the master sheet because this is all your raw data. You can play around with the other tabs, but master sheet is like, this is your hard data. You want to make sure this is preserved and not touched once you copy and paste the data into it from your bank and you know, your credit cards or wherever your sources are coming from. So then you can start creating. I'm going to show you. Once you start, okay, then you're going to highlight all of the data. So you can just do it to the bottom. Or if on Mac, it's Control Shift. That will highlight all the data that's filled out. But if I press the down button again, it will highlight the whole sheet. So I never have to worry about it not capturing anything. So as I keep entering it, it will always include the new data that I put in. And it will make sense when I kind of go over it if you're not familiar with that. But let's just say I want to do it from just what I entered. I'm going to highlight, so Control Shift will just take me to the very bottom. Oh, and then wait. Okay, and then again, this is in your cheat sheet. I'm going to go to okay. So you guys, I'm sorry, I didn't see you guys waiting. If you guys can put yourself on mute, I appreciate it. And then you're going to go to Insert, Pivot Table. And now you're going to have this Create Pivot Table pop-up box that comes up. So it will ask you the table, the range, and that's the range we just picked to the very bottom of the data that we chose. You have the option to create it in a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. I always create a new worksheet, so I keep the default and I press OK. So here you go. This is the blank canvas I was talking about. You now have all your data put into this little system for you. And now we get to make magic. Now, this is where I would say, don't be scared. You're not going to mess anything up. The data is preserved. So this you can kind of mess around and have fun. And as you build reports, I would start naming them. So at the bottom, if you just double click at the bottom, you can name this. So I'm going to name this. I'm going to say, Quarter 1 P&L. my profit and loss, right? For Q1, let's say that's what I was doing this for. So I know, okay, like this is what my objective is, even though I have no clue what this data is. Now, remember that month and year. Oh, if you ever lose this, you just click on this box here. Oh, okay. So like it went away. You're like, oh no, where to go? How do I make it? You just click right in this area again, and it will just come back for you. Now, this, if you remember this month and year, this is where it comes in real handy. So I put it here in columns. This is how I love to see it. So it's bigger. Okay. So columns being this way, right? And rows going down here. So this is, what do you want to see in the columns, right? So you can see anything. You can see your sources, you can see your types. So if I take that out, again, the types that we created is just withdrawals. But if you had deposits, it would have the deposits in there as well. And then categories. So I had business checking, business expenses, operating expenses, other expenses, and utilities included in here. And now it's showing it in the columns. But I like to see the month and the year. So that's where I put it. Now, if you didn't create the month and the year column, it would just show, I mean, we would just have dates, right? And you don't want to see all dates. You want to see it consolidated. So this is why it looks really nice like that with that function. So now, again, this is our P&L. So I don't have any profit in here. So we didn't have any profit this month. And now we have the type. So, and here's the category. Okay, great. And now here's the consolidated amount, right? So this is January 2016, February 2016, March, and April. All right, so we said Q1. So you know what? We can take out, Q1 is 3 months. So we take out April. So you can do it that way too. You can filter in here. It's so cool. You can filter everywhere and take out what you don't want to see. But I'll keep it simple for today. Just know that that is an option. You can keep filtering and taking things out. And again, you can't mess these up. If you start to lose control of the pivot, just create a new one. So it's really fun to play around with it. So now I can see my business expenses was only $91 in March, and operating expenses and utilities. Now, also because I said artists, you'll have up here, okay, up here, you have a design tab. And being the artist that I am, I just can't keep it looking so simple. So you're gonna have a lot of fun creating, do the drop down. You get to put down different styles that you want. So let's say, I don't know, I'm feeling kind of green, it's money. So here we go, this is how I wanna say it, right? So have fun with it. You can design it, you can make them nice looking. They don't have to look so corporate. Also, format, you have, this is something that really irks me is, I like to see the numbers a certain way. So I like to see a comma, and I like to see the negatives as red with parentheses on them. It just makes me happy. So there we go. So this is kind of like, if I had all this income in there, you would see all these like just white numbers. And then all the negatives would be red in parentheses. So I just like to see negatives. And this is how I like to, I really love to customize it, especially if you have a monthly process, and like really get into it and create something that's really yours. So yeah, this is my Q1 profit and loss. Is all loss according to this. So what I love about this, you're like, okay, okay, everything looks good. What was almost $5,000 in March? That's ridiculous for operating expenses. You know what you can do instead of, you know, reinventing the wheel and touching anything? You just double click on this number. Bam, it gives you line by line what makes up that $4,700. So this really comes in handy when you're kind of making reports and you don't know what's part of that. So you can kind of dig deep now and go through line by line if you want to see what's in there. So I think that's super cool. And then, okay, back to here. Now, another category that we put in here was type 2. So this is more a high level approach, right? This is like the high categories. Now we want to see like the high level, but still, you know, consolidated. So again, now I'm looking at my, now I'm really curious about my March of 2016 operating expenses, right? They were so high. So now you can kind of dig deep and see, oh my God, I spent $1,700 on clothes. So was that in my budget? You know, was I just not paying attention? I was living in New York at the time. It's very easy to spend a lot of money. So yeah, now you get to see it kind of in a more drill down view. But now I'm like, oh, that wasn't in the budget. What did I do? So now you can double click on just that. And that will just bring the $1,700 of clothes, because that's what makes up mostly of that amount, right? Because it's a large amount. So now I can kind of go through each one and see the description. So I, you know, Lululemon's here, Equinox shop. So looks like I spent, this was like my rebuilding my workout and my professional clothes here. So I approve of it. Budget approved. But yeah, now I can kind of go through and see from that master sheet that we put together the breakdown of it, right? And not have to kind of search through anything. I think it's so brilliant, and it's just such an easy way to keep drilling down. And then again, like how we had the high level, what's so cool about this now is, and this is in your cheat sheet as well. If you right click on the tab, so this is Q1 P&L, I'm gonna rename this Q1 P&L detail, right? Because it's kind of listed out. But remember, like the first one that we had was a little more high level. If you right click on it and you click on move or copy, and this is in your cheat sheet, you can create a copy, right? And I'm gonna move it right next to this. So it's gonna copy the same sheet. So this is the original one we just did. And now I'm gonna rename this. It just names it a 2 because it's the second version of it. And I'm gonna call this Q1 P&L high level. So I remember that it's more high level. And on this one now, I'm gonna take out the type 2. If it plays nicely. Okay, so now we're back to like the high level view. So then when I go ahead and save this, so what I like to do, and I'll give you guys ideas too. End of the month, all of your statements are ready, right? You kind of know, like I would say the second or the third, all like the bank statements are starting to be generated. Come up with a schedule. So like step 1 is downloading all your bank statements, right? And your credit card statements. So I'd say, see when the last one's generated, like maybe one bank is the 5th of the month, and be like, okay, by the 6th of the month, I'm gonna have these all downloaded, save them in a folder for that month, and then copy and paste, like we talked earlier, into the master sheet, right? Where it looks like this. So just those white areas, and I label them for you, copy and paste. So easy peasy. It should take you about, I don't know, 30 minutes at the most, maybe the first time, but it's really an easy process, and just save them in a file. But I would save this every month, you know, and keep, so like December just ended. So you can now start this for December, and save it. And then when January is ended and it's like the beginning of February, open up your December and start putting in all of the February details and save it as your February close. But leave, the January details, but leave December in there as well, so you can always have it consolidated, if that makes sense. So it's just a more current version. Okay, so just getting, or you know, how you find it's easier to work with it. But again, the master data is where you want to put everything in. Okay, so, right, so just coming up with a closed process if you're going to use this and how to put it in and make these reports and make these the reports that you always can go back to and look at. Okay, so let me see if I'm missing anything. We have that, we have the drill down. Yes, okay. So let's say you're good with this and now it's time, I believe this is entered to April of 2016. So let's say we're back in 2016 and we enter May's data. So now I copy May in here. And let's say I want to use a pivot that I already have, right? And okay, great example. Let me show you. So now I'm going to add April back in here. So now I have January, February, March, April. So now let's say it's a new month. I add May in here. I put the May. Now you have to make sure that your pivot table can capture that new data that you put in, right? Because you put new lines. Now the one we created, it only is capturing the data to the last line. So am I missing anyone? Okay, so that's what I was talking about earlier. See if I do control shift with the arrow and pull all the data. If I do control shift and press the down arrow again, it goes down to the bottom of the sheet of all like the 1 billion, you know, lines that we have. So if you do it that way, and then you insert a pivot table, now if you see it's picking up the data range over here, it's going to pick it up to the very end versus just the last line that we had it. So if you do that, it's always going to pick it up. It's just going to bring up, and I'll show you now the difference. So now it has a blank. So that blank is going to pick up all of those blank lines. So I don't like it because it shouldn't, I don't want it in the report. So you can just take it out so we don't have to see it, but it just means going forward, it's going to capture all of that data, anything that you copy and paste. So just the way you want to kind of play around with it. And also, yeah, so if you enter May's data, then what you have to do each time, and this is on your cheat sheet, you have to go into data and there's a refresh all. And this is so cool. So let's say, let's put this back to where it was. Okay, so here's a categories and mounts. Again, it's listed out here. And I'll just keep it simple for now, like that. If I go to data, refresh all, now there's a refresh all, and then there's a refresh. The difference is refresh will just refresh this sheet right here. If you do refresh all, which I like, it refreshes every pivot table that you have in here. So if you refresh all, that means it will update the May data in all of your sheets so you can pull it through. So let's say if I added May and I refreshed all, you'd see another column just pop up here that would say May 2016. Okay, so I'm gonna take like what time is it? Okay, it's 2:43. I want to leave time to show you the other one, but I'm gonna take like a 5-minute break and see if there's like any questions or I'm going too fast or where you guys are at. Okay, does anyone have anything that they're totally confused, that they're just, or is, yeah, if anyone wants to just bring up anything that's going on, that maybe I'm talking too fast or what's going on. So I want to check in with you guys. Everyone's good? Okay, well, good. I'm glad to hear that, because we are going to have, I am going to leave time at the end for questions. So I'll leave it open for a few minutes though, if anyone wants to just kind of yell out anything that's going on. I know a lot of your cameras aren't on, so feel free to chime in though if you have anything that you just kind of want me to look at while we're in this kind of this view. Okay. All right. Awesome. So now I'm going to show you something really cool now, like from the accounting system point of view. And I also included this on the cheat sheet as well. So let me go back to share screen. Okay. Okay. So, where's my other Excel? Okay, great. So I honestly, QuickBooks annoys the crap out of me, but I went back to QuickBooks because I have a lot of accounts and I use it as a depository. Self-employed is pretty brilliant. It can be kind of annoying. So this is why I use mostly in Excel. But QuickBooks Self-Employed, I really like, especially if you want to keep it simple. It does, and it's not a true accounting system, which is nice if you're not wanting to, you're not ready to use a full accounting system, but you want to really track your business profit and loss. So it does give you like the basic features, but it's not going to give you balance sheet or assets and liabilities and that. It's just straight up tracking. But it's good to get you. That's what I've been using right now because I don't need a proper accounting system for what I'm doing right now. So I highly recommend it if you have a lot of accounts and you just want a depository that it will link all the transactions for you. And you won't have to do those copy and paste that I did earlier. So it will bring up a sheet like this. This is what QuickBooks Self-Employed will spit out for you. And again, like I put in the email, if you have any kind of tracking system, you just you want the transactions. So when you have like any accounting or financial tracking system will have, it will list out the transactions for you. So you just want it detailed. You don't want a financial report. So you'll see it kind of in the, call it the general ledger or like wherever the transactions are entered. So that's where you want to look. And any system, 99.9% should have somewhere where you can download, again in CSV, your transactions. So it's going to mirror pretty much what I just showed you in the first part of this workshop. So it's going to be really clean and simple, and it will just go, like look pretty much like we did. So with that, QuickBook Expense, so a regular accounting system, you can customize the chart of accounts, and that's your coding. In QuickBooks Self-Employed, you cannot. So you're pretty locked in. That's why it's super cheap. And if don't pay full price for it ever. If you do want to use it, they're always running specials. And I am always on the phone with customer service when another trial ends or something. They're always giving me, I pay $4 or $5 a month or whatever. So anyway, never pay full price for QuickBooks Self-Employed. And yeah, because I just use it. It's so simple. So here is what the drill down looks like. And you have the date, where the bank, and the account. The bank is pretty much what I link it to. And then they have like the account, which I have layered into my QuickBooks. the description, which comes from the account, and the amount, the type. The type is cool because you'll have personal, you know, it's on filter right now, which is good. I can show you. The type is, this is coming again from QuickBooks. This is raw data right here. So this is business, personal, and unreviewed. So that's really cool. If you like working in Excel better than QuickBooks, which I do because QuickBooks just gets annoying and it gets stuck. So here is a way for me to kind of relax a little bit and kind of play around. And then just look at the ones I unreviewed and remember like what didn't I code? So I can kind of just go through here and just see what's unreviewed. But I do like how it does break out business and personal, and it keeps it very simple though. So now the only thing that's missing that I have to add, so I have 2020, is that month and year formula. So I would insert a column and I would do that month, year thing I showed you. And then the formula again is in the other sheet, but I'm just telling it that I want the month and the year only. And then if you just go to the bottom, you see I like that little crosshair and double click it, it just auto populates it for you. And that was a formula in every cell. So let's say you add new data at the bottom. You want to add more data to something, you can keep pulling the formula and it looks all weird, but as you put the dates, so 12 to 20, it will automatically start pulling like that. So it'll change it for you. Okay, let's get rid of these. Okay, so similar to what I showed you before, again, this is what I like about this. It did mirror the other sheet that I showed you if you're starting from scratch. So now all I did was add this. Right, so everything else is raw data except this yellow column. So again, then if I just click on, and I don't really care about a receipt, I don't use receipts, not for what I'm doing here. So I'm just gonna highlight not all the lines, just, oh, note that if you start to use all the lines though, it is gonna slow down your system. That is the one caveat. If you do, you know, I know we're all in different kind of positions and places, you know, so if you do start using a lot of data, it will start to like kind of weigh your system down because it's always going to be start pulling, looking for data. So just to note on that, if you do go all the way down to the bottom. So again, then we're going to insert pivot table. And again, that's the data range. We want a new worksheet. Okay, and here is our beautiful pivot table fields. This is where we have fun. So we want the month and the year here. And let's say I'm only looking at 2020. I take out 2021. So this is one way I can do it. What I didn't show you filter. Filter is so freaking awesome too. And this all moves around. This is so cool. So let me unfilter this and pull this back in. This is so much. I'm trying to just give you the high level and get the basics, and then you can kind of play around. But okay, you see how it went away? If I just click on the part that is the pivot table, it will bring back the pivot table fields. But you can filter as well. So let's say you're like, okay, I know I have 3 months of data in here. I only want to see December, right? You want to see the last month. So now I just filtered on it in here. So anything I kind of make or create with this in the filter, it just filters it for you. You can filter pretty much anything. You can filter, okay, so this is December, and then now I want to filter a bank, right? So I'm like, oh, I only want to see my checking account. So now I'm only on my checking account, right? And then here's my amount. And then here's type and category. And let's say I don't want business and I don't want unreviewed. I just want to see my personal, right? So, and I don't want any payments. So I have a credit card payment in here. Yeah, so you can really filter it and kind of play around with it. But the filter is really cool up here. If you just, this is good for like, you know, just pulling like what if scenarios kind of thing, or just kind of drilling down on something. So just another way to kind of look at the data. And then let's make this bigger. Okay, and then let's take that out. Okay, so I just want to see like some expenses that roll through. Oh, and then there's income in here too. So I don't want to see the income. So another way to kind of go through it and kind of see what you want to filter on. Okay. And again, I'm a stickler. You can format different ways, but you can format the cells or the number format. And so let's see, number. Okay, great. So, and even while we're here, just again, I think I always like to show the cool parts of Excel. So again, having, I'm feeling kind of yellow. No, that's ugly. Okay, here's some blue. Okay, looks very nautical. And I don't remember making anything for $1,000 in charity. So I double click on here, and again, you can just double click and go through it this way. And this is how you analyze. This is why it's an amazing way, if you're using an accounting system or not, to kind of review your profit and loss at the end, when everything is closed at the end of the month. So in the beginning of the next week of the future month, where you're like, okay, let me just kind of go through it and see, you know, and you can look at it from different lenses as well. So you can do so much with this kind of, you know, way of looking. But I just wanted to show you again that you can build this with any system that you're using or you want to use too. Let's say you're thinking about using a system. Again, I think the positive thing about using a system is as a depository. That's what I kind of use mine for, is just so it links all the accounts and I don't really have to do much, but just kind of like I showed you, get that raw data. So I can start pivoting and looking at data for, you know, I can start making reports, and you can keep inserting pivot tables, like I said earlier, or you can keep duplicating ones that you make. So it's just so dynamic and really just freaking amazing. I find it, especially once you get into your groove with it. So here's the categories, here's the amount. So this is, you know, this is what I do for, this is how I work in like really like billion-dollar companies. We will use Excel to just like this with pivot tables and just to kind of audit and have a cross-reference to what the system is generating, right? Because we're so heavily reliant on technology. So let's say you do use an accounting system and you feel secure, or you're using a bookkeeper, this is just a nice way for you to kind of like review work that's been done. And again, get the raw data and, you know, question your bookkeeper too. I really want to empower everyone here too, that if you do use an outside service, which they're amazing, but you know, especially bill.com and all this electronic stuff, just have an idea though of how, you know, your system flows, your operational flow. And, you know, this is kind of what I do for a business and really supporting. So, if, you know, do reach out if you do need assistance with this. This is kind of my niche. So this is what I love to do, and build infrastructure and operational systems for really cool people and not make it so mundane and so flat. So this is my magical kind of approach. I'm gonna now open the floor to you guys who have questions. Again, like I said, bring all your questions. And so let me know if there's something you want to see. Maybe you have a situation going on, or what's going, you know, where you're at. So how can I be of service? Does anyone have any questions? Or any scenarios they want to talk over? Whatever you have, I'm sure someone else will like have, you know, it will help other people as well. So there's no stupid questions. Or does anyone have any feedback? Give me some feedback. Like, was this like amazing, boring, worth it? I would just love to hear your guys' thoughts on like how this was for you as well.
Lindsay, there's questions in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Sorry, it's hard for me to see. Lindsay. Okay, let's see. Is it possible for us to record this? I have to leave early. Yes, okay. We're recording this. Yay, thank you. Lindsay, can you please center the Excel window because your video is blocking the upper right side. Uh-oh, was that an issue for you guys? I'm sorry. Oh, any suggestions for detailing business loss from the lockdown? Yeah, Toby, if you want to talk more about that, but you know, I was working on Wall Street during Hurricane Sandy, and we were pretty knocked out. And you know, I worked with the insurance adjusters on putting our revenue loss together and kind of how that worked. So I'm not sure for what angle you're looking at, but I'm always like, that is a thing. I worked with the business insurance adjuster and just how we can show revenue loss from Hurricane Sandy and what that, you know, did for us and not being able to use the office. So I'm definitely could say you can capture for whatever purpose that you're using. Do you have more in detail of a question?
Not at this time, Lindsay. I'm mostly just wanting to know how to code. Sorry, I'll turn my video on.
How to code?
My details for 2020, because there's a lot. There were, I wasn't seeing clients in an office because I wasn't going to an office. So there was I let go of my office, though I was paying rent at one time before I could get out of the lease. So there were just odd circumstances as a consequence of the nuance. And I was wondering how to detail, or if it even matters to detail that beyond identifying operating expenses and business expenses. Because obviously it shows, and I'm sure everyone's expecting that there will be a loss for some as a consequence of the extremely unique circumstances that occurred last year around operating a business.
Of course, if you have data like I showed you today, like I would definitely put another column and kind of flag the ones that are applicable to COVID. You have a COVID category.
Okay.
What you can do is you can filter it out of your master data, right? Where you can kind of always pull it and start looking at it, but not to reinvent the wheel as well. Like just put, like, you know, if you're going to use pivot tables like this, if you're using accounting software, just kind of go through the detail and like pinpoint which ones are COVID and just make a column with COVID in it. So at any time you can kind of put this, and then it'll be just a hierarchy, right? If it's COVID or not.
All right, that's helpful. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Sure. Okay, let me go back to here. Oh, Dale, I'm so sorry. I lost you. Oh, maybe she jumped off. Odell, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Did I completely lose you?
Yes, I use very basic Excel.
Okay. Do you think you're comfortable with copying and pasting?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, I copy and paste cells, but that's because I don't know how to expand columns. That's how basic I am.
Okay. Well, I would say there's so much out there. If you want, for your email, especially, I can see if I can find something really basic for you to start with. But what I put together is it's only piggybacking off of it a little bit. So if you understand just kind of the basics, then you really could do what I showed you today with like bank account information. If you're motivated, that's all up to you. Okay. This is fascinating, but I'm thinking I'm a little bit stronger foundation in basic Excel. Any recommendations for a good place to get that? Okay, so Kaylin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great. Okay. So can you just elaborate? You have a basic foundation in Excel?
I need a stronger basic foundation in Excel.
Okay, so what was the disconnect today when I was showing you like the basic, the first presentation of copying paste from your bank statement into Excel?
I've never tried to do that. And in fact, I didn't know it was possible. So I need to sort of like explore trying to make that happen.
Okay. Did you get a chance to, have you ever seen a CSV file?
Nope.
Okay. So that's step one. I would say you have a bank account, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Get a CSV file. I'm gonna tell you why, because they're so flat and basic. It's like basic Excel versus something that's more with graphics and stuff. And it'd be a great way for you guys, you and Dale as well, to like kind of just get your feet wet with Excel.
Okay.
Without like too many functions going off. And yeah, so for the both of you, let me just jot down. It's Kaylin and Dale. That what if you could just get the basics, a copy and paste.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can find for you guys. But yeah, if you could just find the simple basics, and I'm gonna send over the template and a cheat sheet for you. I think if you're really dedicated, you could grasp it within a few weeks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Lindsay,
Yeah.
could you include me in that as well?
Of course.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, it's what is your alias name?
Angelia Scott.
Got it. Great. You know what I'll do? I'll just include it in the goodie bag. So we don't have to I'll just try to see if I can find some basic Excel tools.
Thank you. That'd be very helpful.
Good, yes. Okay, let's see. I don't know how to get the data from the bank statements. Okay, we just talked about that, right? Okay, yeah, this is something, banks are amazing. I even have problems with them sometimes. Call them up, tell them what you're trying to do. They're amazing. So they'll walk you through how to get a CSV file if you can't find it on your own. And I would say, if you really like this, learn their cycle, ask them, be like, oh, when do you generate your reports? When can I get the CSV file? So really commit to it on a monthly basis. It's so empowering to do this. Okay, woohoo, Microsoft Office, yes, please. I know, I think you mentioned it well. I I'm such a huge fan. I just, it trumps the other versions just for what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay. Also inspired, what are you including? Operating expenses category. Okay, I'm gonna send you guys some examples of operating expenses. Again, like financial tracking, yeah, like again, this could be highly customized. So I'm a journaler, you know, don't make this so don't make this so corporate officey. Make this like a journaling experience. You're like, oh my God, like how can I see my expenses, right? Like don't even get caught up in all this. Like this is just this can be really fun and not intimidating if you can just learn the real basics of Excel. So it's very powerful. But on the more magical side, it's like, think of your what if, like how would I, and journal about it. Don't get it caught up in the archaic abstract of, you know, of the information and, you know, the technical piece, but really think about how you want to see your revenue and expenses, and even think about how do I want to see categories, right? And so yeah, that in a hierarchical too. So I call it operating expenses. For you, it might be something different, but have couple different lenses. Taxes. This is tax prep right here, people. The end of the year, you don't have to do anything, nothing. It's all done for you. So yeah, so this is real great tax prep for you, that at the end of the year, you have your business revenue expenses, but you also can see it the way you want to see it. This is your way. This is your accounting system. This is why I work in Excel, so I can customize it to my own self and not have to succumb to some accounting software that makes me want to put accounts that I don't like. And again, like I want a Starbucks account. That's very important to me. So I will have one, but that's a brainstorm. But the, you know, the end of the year, obviously Starbucks is not in the IRS code yet. So yeah, just kind of learning how to build something that, you know, you can have these categories. So a high level operating expenses for me is just how I operate, right? What is operating? And then the accounting world, you have financing expenses, right? So you have financing is how you're financing, you know, your businesses or yourself. Like, do you have loans, or, you know, that's financing piece of it. So I'm gonna do another workshop next month that if you guys like this and want to learn more, I'm gonna talk about the basics of accounting and accounting 101. So like, and like ask it all, like there's no stupid questions. And the real secret about that is, if you're, especially if you're a business owner or want to be one, is like just know the language, and that's all you need to know, you know. So just have an awareness. You don't have to know everything, but it's so empowering to know financial reporting and the basics of accounting, so you can work magically and not be intimidated. So I'm going to do that next month, so just spoiler alert. But operating expenses, that is kind of the basic, you know, what do you need to operate? And that's the groceries, you know, that's everything, the clothes, you know, the books and all that, but how you want to see it broken down. So there's so many different ways to look at it. So I know it can be confusing. So I give you an example of just how I put it together for this. In the accounting world, it is called the chart of accounts. And we can talk about that next month as well. But that is, again, the accounting Bible. And the chart of accounts is just how we code things and how the transactions are. So what I like to say to people, though, is don't get so caught up in it. Maybe keep it generic for the first few months and kind of see how it rolls. Just having a heightened awareness. And as you get more comfortable with it, then you can start customizing it. It might be too confusing in the beginning to start customizing things when you don't really even know how it flows yet. So just get into the flow with your finances first, and then get empowered with them. And I always say no guilt, no shame. So this is a way to kind of be magical about it. Okay, brushing up on Excel has a lot of tutorials in that portal. Yes, Microsoft does. Yeah, if you guys please share it too. You know, if you find something, I feel like we're in like data overload of just tutorials and YouTubes. That's why I really like I like putting together cheat sheets and just like something simple. So even if you take my cheat sheets, what I'm going to give you in Word, start adding that, start putting stuff on there that you find, use that as kind of your guide if that's how you see things. I see things very visual and then I read them. So I have to kind of marry the two. I can't watch YouTube all the time. It kind of makes me like nervous. I don't know. So I like to kind of step by step it with it. But some people like to watch YouTube, how to do things. So it's really your comfort zone, how you want to learn. Udemy is freaking amazing. I must sign up for their courses all the time. So I'm sure they have an Excel basic there as well. Can you talk about the difference between QuickBooks versus Excel? Like what goes beyond the scope of Excel, what we should use in QuickBooks for instead? Okay, so I think I kind of covered that, but just to kind of rehash is that I use Excel with everything, so not limited to QuickBooks. What I was trying to, the point was that if you don't want to use an accounting system or finance tracking, you can just do it in Excel. I'm even working with clients that want to use pen and paper. So we're integrating that as well. And we're taking it old school because he just likes the old school way. And you know what? The reason why I got into accounting is working on my checkbook back then used to be relaxing. So yes, I understand that. Like sitting down with a paper and pen was kind of nice. So that's an option too. You know, you don't have to get into this tech savvy world if you have, you know, and it might even be more time consuming to do it pen and paper because now you're not working with technology and having to code and do all this other things. So honestly, if Excel's not your jam, too, pen and paper, I have ideas on that too. And I'm totally open. I can share those as well. But back to the Excel versus QuickBooks is, I would say QuickBooks is, if I hope what you got today, my intention was to show you how you can use Excel quick and dirty anytime, just learning how to pull raw data and to make a pivot table. If you can understand that, you can walk into any system, anything, and just learn how to kind of manipulate data really fast and work and look at different lenses. I think, you know, you can really create reports, especially, you know, like working with different audiences and who you're trying, like, again, like, Toby was asking earlier just about like COVID. This is such a great example. Again, like working on Hurricane Sandy in New York, you know, Excel is how I created all this stuff because my accounting system can't create this. It's chaos. It's a black swan. It's a one-off situation. So this is where Excel really helps you to piggyback and create scenarios, situations you want to like pitch to an investor or your friend, like, give me money for my business, right? And here you can show them in Excel kind of like data and forecasts and budgets, but you need some data to kind of like, what have you done? Where are you? So it's a great way to put a snapshot together. So infinite possibilities with Excel, no matter what you use. So that's kind of my take on it. I really love the cadence conversation of your voice. The material stuff will need another go over for me. Yes. Okay. I will definitely be running. I am such an Excel junkie. I will definitely be running these workshops. And again, I'm starting to work with clients now too. So at every level, I'm just here to support, especially if you want to start a business or even tutorials. I do a lot of workshops and I do a lot of training. I have a background in training and training manuals. So do use me as a resource. Only time I use CSV is to import my boss's email contacts into MailChimp. Yeah, that's a great example, like MailChimp. So the reason why you're importing your boss's, so CSV, because that's another great thing about CSV is importing. So yes, that's another feature. We won't talk about that today, but it's because it is so easy to work with and there's no graphics and it's importable data. So just keep that awareness that what we're putting together is kind of importable as well, that you have raw data now. My goal is to use Dave Burns' spreadsheet. Yes, please. I love Dave Burns and I love the money course, and I took it many years ago. I'm familiar with his worksheet. So that is amazing. Thank you for reminding me. So yes, please use that. That will be your end result. So from his sheets, he's giving you exactly what I'm putting together. I'm just giving it to you from a raw data lens. So yeah, you can definitely marry the two. Dave and he speaks my language. I've actually spoken to him. I mean, one-on-one before. We're just so aligned. So yes, please, anything Dave puts out, it's awesome. It's amazing. And he understands accounting and finance. He's a math dork as well. So definitely marry the two. So I would say, if you look at what I send you and what what he put together, it's the same language. He really stresses to put categories together, like high level categories. That's all he really is talking about, and how empowering that is. So yes. Yes, the money spreadsheet that is available for everyone on Wealth. I know Money Course is free to us. Okay, thank you. I prefer using, okay. Isn't importing how the CSV data gets into Excel. Isn't importing how the CSV data gets into Excel. So importing is really like for platforms, so we're downloading the CSV from the platforms. So CSV is just, again, a comma separated value. That is the criteria. That's how it's kind of mapped out, the spreadsheets. So versus Excel. So on that note, I should remind you that when you save it, you always want to, when you create these, you're going to be saving them in Excel. You're just downloading them into CSV. So CSV is not a proper Excel file. So when you save your pivot, everything's going to be in Excel. It's just getting the raw data out of CSV. And that again is when you create an Excel sheet like for QuickBooks and you want to import it, yes, you will save it as a CSV, because again, it's comma separated values. So it's kind of the format that it needs to be versus, yeah, I'm going to keep it at that. I'm not going to get in detail about the different formats, but just, I think of it as like Excel. If you save it, even though it looks like an Excel file, when you save as an Excel file, it just has more features in it. So CSV is just very flat and importable. So yes. Okay, I think I got everything. We have a few more minutes. If anyone else has any burning questions or wants me to go over anything, I can even go over some basic Excel if we have no more questions, if that's something that, this is what the audience wants. Does anybody have anything else before we wrap up? Okay, good.
Lindsay, I'm just going to say thank you. I need to sign off, and my children just arrived for dinner. Thank you, everyone else. This has been a really illuminating, and it reminds me I have to dig back into Excel, and I'm feeling inspired. So, woo!
I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you. Accounting's not boring. Thank you for joining us.
Oh hell! Well, I dream in math, so
I love it. All right.
Then there's that. All right, it's a pleasure. Thank you, everyone. I look forward to the goodie bag.
Of course. Okay. Okay. So okay, so we have a few more minutes. When you go into Excel, you're just going to open. Oh, I'm sorry. That's if you want to open an existing one. You're going to go to New for a blank sheet. Okay. Let me bring this over here. Okay. So this is what a blank Excel looks like. And then you have all these different functions, features, formatting tools. So, okay. I look at it as a blank canvas. So you just have rows, the rows, and then you have columns over here. So you have to know those kind of terms as well up here. So I have to say, just because we have a few minutes, what I really want to say with Excel is there's always more than one way to do something. So, which can be confusing, but also like if you just have that awareness and know that like, if you want to delete something like lines, like I press Control minus, right? But you can also right click and do delete. So that will delete it as well. So there's so many different ways. I would just say to start, I'm going to send you a cheat sheet and start making notes on your cheat sheet of the basic functions of, like you said, the column width, like things like that, right? And I'm gonna also propose to get your hands dirty and mess up. You can't do anything wrong. So start, I'm an Aries, so I always mess everything up. I've crashed so many computers when I was a kid because that's how you learn. So talking about column width, start hovering over things, get used to it, and you'll see it changes. So here, here you have that. And then if you put it like that, you see the mouse changes to a hand, right? Up here, then you have a different little symbol. The mouse changes into the arrow. So just get to learn it. How things look, familiarize yourself with it, and just spend some time like messing around. So again, like, what does that symbol? So this, when it looks like that, and it will tell you it's the width. So here, though, it's not going to do it. Now it's highlighted on here, right? So I would say just get in there. Just spend, before you even like, when you start doing your tutorials and reading, but just sit with it for a few minutes and get to know it. Start like pressing things. Like you can press the red button, nothing's going to happen. And you, especially if you see a pretty color, right? So see what things do. And what's going to happen, you make a weird sheet of weird stuff and then you just close it and it asks you if you want to save and you say don't save, and that's it. So I hope that helps, just to give you some ideas of just getting comfortable with Excel, and you're not going to hurt anything or mess anything. And what I say is, what I'll leave you with is, when I send you the Excel goodie bag, you'll always have the attachment. So that means when you open the one I send you, you can totally fuck it up, mess it up, and then open it again. Do you know what I mean? Because you'll have a new one. So you'll always have my email, so you can always mess up the one that I send you, okay? Oh, I'm still on screen share. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for attending, and all you guys are champs for staying the whole hour and a half. I don't know where everyone went, but I guess they got what they needed. But thank you so much. And you will be receiving a goodie bag. So appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.